y'all. Welcome back to Spirit of the Outdoors, another episode of Just in Time. I get asked a lot about my opinion of the end time. I have talked briefly about it, and I have mentioned what I'm going to talk about in the videos. I get asked, Israel and things going on over there. What do you think about the times? And, I think it kind of shocks people when I say, I'm not worried about it. I honestly, y'all, I'm really not. And I'm fixing to share with you why. If you go into the book of Matthew, you start to study the teachings of Jesus. Jesus taught about life. And all the things that he taught were fruits of having a pure heart. If your intentions are right, if your heart's in the right place, the things of this world really don't matter a whole lot. They matter a little. I mean, there's necessities of life, but God will help take care of that if you trust him. And it's what he wants, is people to trust him. So I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 12 and verse 38. It said, "Then certain of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and an adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. It says, For Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonas, and behold, a greater than Jonas is here." The things that Jesus is talking about right here is the people of Nineveh heard preaching, and they felt conviction, and realized that we have run amok, we have lived in error, and we've got to change. We believe this man of God, and we believe the God that he speaks of, and we better repent. We better realize that we are wrong, that we are in the wrong, and that we're going to change. People ask me a lot about Israel. The things going on. And there is a lot going on over there. And they are signs of the times. They are things of the prophecy of Revelations coming to pass. How much of it will come to pass in what amount of time, I don't know. I'm not a Revelation scholar or a Bible scholar for that matter. There are some things that I do understand, and mostly from spirit that's inside of me. He said, a wicked and an adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. So when we think of an adulterous generation, our mind automatically, usually, for the most part of us, goes to adultery. I'm in a relationship with this person, but I want this person over here too. Like the old saying, I want my cake and eat it too. I want to have this, but I also want to have that. Like Eve, I want to be in the Garden of Paradise, but I want that forbidden fruit. I mean, there's a lot of annotations I could use and a lot of examples. But it's not just about relationship of person. It is about our heart and our attitude. An adulterous generation wants to live for God, but they really want to hang on to the world too. And you can't do that, people. The gist of this message that I am going to speak to you about today, I don't really consider what I do in these videos really preaching. It's not near about how I preach normally. An adulterous generation is a generation of people that they want to go to church and they want some feel-good religion. They even might want to go to a worshiping church, a church that feels good, a church that looks like it's on fire. But, you know, I'm really not going to cut anything out of my life, and I'm not going to separate myself from the world as we know it. I'm not going to separate myself from things of the world and all the lust and the pleasures of life and the pleasures and the pride of life and the things that make me look good and the things that make me sit on top of the world and my greed and my hunger for things out here and the list goes on. I want to be in church, but I don't want to make any sacrifices. I really don't want to have any full commitments. I want to straddle the fence. I want to drink from the cup of the fountain of the waters of life. But the other hand, I want this cup of the world. I want to drink from the juices of life. I want the pleasures that please this flesh, that makes it happy. You know, the thrill of new things, the thrill of new people, the thrill of being patted on the back about everything and looking good, even if I got to do a little cheating and lying and stuff to, you know, I want to satisfy this flesh with all kind of things of pleasure. You know, I have a lust and a love for money, and I want to feed that greed, and I want to, you know, I want gimme, and all to me, and then all the while I want to go to church, and I want to tell God I love Him, but I'm not really willing to make any sacrifices. That is an adulterous generation. You know, I want to seek a sign. I want to know when the end is near, because I'm not going to really sell out and give my heart to God until the last minute, until I think, you know, I have milked everything I can out of this world. But Jesus said, I'm going to come back like a thief in the night. When you think not. He said there'll be marrying and giving in marriage, and there'll be children being born, and there'll be work to be done. There'll be life going on. You won't realize it's about to happen. And He's going to steal in here in the middle of the night, and He's going to take His church out. And it baffles me when I see people that they try to convince you that, oh, the rapture's not real. The rapture's not in the Bible. All this ain't what it's talking about. Jesus said, I'm coming back for a bride that has made itself ready. I'm coming back for my people. We don't necessarily know when that is. He said, you'll not know the day nor the hour. He said, for in a time when you think not. But we got a people that's so hungry for, I want to know when it's coming. I want to know when the end is near. I want to know when God's coming back, because I'm going to live as much life as I can live, and I'm not going to make any sacrifices until I think it's close. That is why we need a sign. That is why people are looking for the end time. That is why people are looking for solar eclipses and red heifers in Israel and the building of the temple and for this and for that and for the blood and the fire and the vapor of smoke and the moon to be turned to blood and the sun to be darkened and all these things that Revelation speaks of in chapter 13. When the beast begins to rise and the mark of the beast is employed and money is thrown in the streets and all of this stuff starts happening. That's when people are going to start saying, okay, I'm going to get my heart right. You know what? I hope every one of them makes it. I hope you have time. I hope that you kneel down there and repent in the nick of time and you make it to heaven with me. I'm not jealous of you. I want you to make it that bad. I'm not going to look at my life that I have sacrificed things and I have done without pleasures of this world and all of that stuff and be jealous of people that get in the last minute. I'm going to be like, you finally made it. My prayers is finally answered. I prayed for you. I prayed for this people. I prayed for this nation, and they finally repented in the nick of time. That is my heart. But what I am worried about is the ones that don't repent in time. Because the Bible talks about there being 2 in the field, and 1 shall be taken and 1 left. There were 10 foolish virgins and 10 wise virgins, and they were 10 wise that had plenty extra oil, but they were 5 that just barely had enough. 5 that had plenty and 5 that barely had enough. And their lamps went out, and they went to get more oil. They went to get renewed. They went to be replenished. Their heart was in the right place. They knew what they needed. They were trying to get it. And the bridegroom come while they were gone to get oil. That's the ones I'm worried about. The ones that know they need oil, that plan one day, I'm going to get my life right one day. You know, one day I know I need to get right with God. I'm going to get right one day. And that day is not going to come before Jesus does. That is what concerns me. An adulterous generation. Too attached to the world. A love for God, but still in love with the world too. The Bible says you cannot serve God and serve mammon. In other words, you can't serve God and still try to please the flesh. Still try to live on high on the hog and the pleasures of life. You're going to have to make some sacrifices at some point and make a decision. You know what? I'm sold out to Him. I tried to live that life for a long time. I would go to church, and I would do everything that the Bible said, and even spoke in tongues one time. A few times, actually. But I never sold out. I was still in love with the world. And it wouldn't be long that something would happen, and I would get offended, or I would get hurt, or some temptation would come along, and I would give in, and I'd say, you know what, I might as well give up. And it was solely because my lust for the world and the parties and the having a good time and the doing the things that all the people out there were doing that I knew wasn't quite right. And I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to partake in that. And I would walk away from God to live that life. It sucked me in many times. And it was because I was an adulterous person. Not just in marriage, but adulterous to God. You see, God says, I am a jealous God. That's what He wrote. In other words, He wants you to love Him and Him alone. He don't want His attention being spread around to everybody else. You're His. When you sell out to God, you are not your own. That is not your body. That is not your life. You are blood bought. And you belong to Him. And that sounds like slavery to some people. That sounds like bondage to some people. But once I'm bought by Him, and I am property of the King of Kings and the Lord Most High, that means the enemy can't touch me. He can tempt me. He can try to woo me. He can flirt with me. He can do whatever he wants to. But he can't put his hands on me unless I put my hands out to Him first. Unless I start walking in His direction. I'm bought with a price. That means I am protected by the King. My owner will take care of me. As long as I'm sold out and I'm faithful to God, just as I'm faithful in a marriage. I'm not lusting after the world and the things of the world and the pleasures of this world and the pride of life and looking for power and looking for wealth and looking for all of these things. I'm sold out to God and I'm trusting Him to take care of me. He said, take no thought for what you'll drink, what you'll wear, what you'll eat. Take no thought for tomorrow. He said, look at the birds, do I not feed them? Look at the lilies of the valley, are they not clothed? They don't put no thought in raiment and all these things. And I see people that they'll use them scriptures, oh, that's just don't worry about, it's okay to save up to try to be rich one day. No, that's not what it's talking about. Jesus is teaching you not to put your trust in money, not to save your money up for hard times because He wants you to trust Him. My preparations and survival mentality is skills. I'm going to learn everything I can learn, but I'm not hoarding up a bunch of stuff for hard times one day because I trust God's going to help me make it through. The things that He's teaching me, keep these things alive that's day to day. Just live this life. Live in connection with the land. Live in connection with the things I have provided for you. And I'll take care of you. And that's what I do. I put one foot in front of the other one every day. I live for today because I trust Him. And I'm not trying to be part of an adulterous generation, seeking a sign. Lord, when you coming back? Lord, when are you coming back? Because I'm hanging on to this world and I'm watching the skies so that I can get right in the nick of time. So that I can turn loose of all this stuff in the nick of time. The problem is if you're too attached to this world, when He comes, you're not going to let go of it. I've read several times on here about him stopping by a young man. And he said, what would you want? Young man said, I've kept all your teachings from the time I was a young man. I've honored my father and my mother. I've done all this stuff. And he said, take everything you've got and sell it, and give it to the poor, and follow me. The man dropped his head, walked away, it said, because he had much possessions. He was too attached to the things of this world, to the things he had accumulated, to the things that he had accumulated himself, that he could not part with it to follow Jesus. And that's where a lot of people's going to find themselves on the day when the rapture happens, is they're going to be overcumbered with things of this world that they can't fly away with us. Be careful what your affections drift towards. I'm not sitting here telling you that it's wrong to enjoy life. It's not wrong to go fishing. It's not wrong to have a good job and make plenty money. But don't let your lust and things be drawn to that to the point that you start drifting away from God. That starts becoming more important than the things of God. Don't let it start affecting your walk, your relationship with Him. Because the number one thing you'll ever do in this life is completely sell out to God. I have a true peace. I have a true joy. Does that mean I don't get frustrated? No, I get frustrated sometimes. I face struggles sometimes. Life is hard sometimes. But I'm not worried because I look back and see that He's never forsaken me. There's never been a valley I stood in that He didn't bring me up the mountain on the other side and give me the strength to climb. There's never been an enemy that I faced that He didn't give me the strength to fight and be victorious. I've faced opposing odds at times that I thought, God, I'll never make it through this. But I stand on the other side and look back now and I see where He helped me. I see where He gave me peace. And knowing that, And those experiences in life that he brought me from give me the confidence to sit here today and say he'll see me through tomorrow no matter what comes, no matter what I face. If I have to stand on a graveside of a loved one that I'm attached to, I'll find peace in that moment because of him. No, it won't be easy. No, it won't be welcomed. No, it ain't something we look forward to. Just like I don't look forward to the day that I die, but I don't have a fear of dying. I'm not afraid to go. When my days are over here and my number is called, I'm ready to meet him because I'm not attached to this world. My affections lie with him. I want to go be with him. Y'all, don't be part of an adulterous generation. Have faith in God. Be faithful to God, and he'll be faithful to you. Your needs will be met. Your prayers will be answered if you'll sell out to him, and you'll be faithful to him. I promise you they will. I love y'all. I'm praying for you. Remember, if you'll do a little better today than you did yesterday, tomorrow will be a better day. God bless all of you. We'll see you next time. Y'all have a good one.